That radio chick Cheryl Lee here. Welcome to the Still Rocking It podcast, where we'll have music, news reviews and interviews with some of our favourite Australian musicians and artists. Imagine stepping into a packed Australian pub in the 70s and 80s, the heyday of the pub rock music scene, where the air was thick with the unmistakable scent of beer, sweat and pot, and the atmosphere was electrifying. Doc Neeson, charismatic leader of the Angels, famously captured this raw energy when he said, "I know you're out there, I can smell you." Drummer for the Angels and founding member of Ganggajang, Graham Buzz Bidstrup was there. His new book, No Secrets, is an Oz rock memoir of music and mayhem. We spoke to Buzz in the Zoom room at length. What a generous and amazing human he is. He's seen a lot. Let's find out all the goss. To catch up on podcasts from other favourite artists, simply go to thatradiochick.com.au.
Have you got an Angel shirt on? Good on you.
Oh yeah, I came dressed for the occasion.
Damn, I'm wearing a daggy old bloody sweat top. Actually, I'll tell you what I got underneath it.
Bogan
Mania.
What is that?
That was a podcast in Western Australia about 20 years ago.
Oh,
Yeah.
20 years ago. It must have been one of the very
It was like not so much a podcast, they just did a show for a radio station. Yeah.
Oh, righto.
Yeah.
They were ahead of their time, were they?
Ahead of their time, bloody oath. So how are you getting on?
Yeah, good. Thank you.
Lovely.
I'm in Adelaide. Are you?
How are you? How nice. That's my old hometown.
I know. I did not know that until just now. How could I not know that?
I don't know. Are you an Adelaide girl?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Are you going to come along to the launch?
Well, I do actually have one complaint.
Because it's a night you can't make it.
You didn't get your people to speak to my people first. Guess when I leave for 3 weeks in the States?
Oh, no.
Wednesday, the 10th of February.
Oh, goodness gracious. What a pity.
I was bitterly disappointed and I thought, I'll have to fly somewhere else. It was all over. And then your people must have spoke to my people because you've chucked one in November. It's at Avoca Beach, so I might just have to go to Queensland.
That's the central coast of New South Wales, just north of Sydney. But it's a lovely beach.
I just have to convince the hubby that...
You need to do a little R&R in Sydney, and while you're there, just a little bit north, go up to Gosford.
I'm geographically challenged. I thought it was in Queensland, but...
May as well be.
Near enough. I'll just have to say, hubby, you know how we've just spent 3 weeks on the Caribbean? Can we just pop up?
To the Caribbean of New South Wales.
How long have we got, Graham? Do you prefer Graham or Buzz?
I don't mind. I'll answer to either. I'm used to people calling me Buzz because it's just something that's...
Stuck.
It's stuck, yeah. No, I've got until... I think we're pretty good. I'll just have a look at when the next one is. It's not until 2, I think. So I've got an hour, I think. Yeah.
Doing my research, and I think, oh, my God, Buzz, how are we going to talk about all of this?
I know. I was just doing one with Paul Cashmere from the Noise, and I think we covered 2 bands, and that was it in an hour.
Who knew that you have done so much, achieved so much, been involved in so much? I don't know where to begin. Now, I know we need to talk about the book, but I don't want to give any spoilers about the book. I think we're just going to tease people, give them a reason to go buy it.
Yeah, absolutely. And if people are listening in Adelaide, they can come along on the 10th. I know you can't, but others may want to come to the town hall and hear my very first band from 1967, Fahrenheit 451. They're going to play. Yeah, and so are Pegasus, my band from 1972. Yeah, it'll be fun.
Get along, everybody. I won't see you down the front this time. But if you go to Avoca Beach, I might. And speaking of Fahrenheit 451, something else that I learnt today. I'm the fundraising coordinator for Support Act South Australia.
Oh, how cool.
Guess what? Fahrenheit 451 appeared for our monthly fundraising lunches regularly. The last one was in April.
Wow.
I know, right? Adelaide.
So they're still playing.
Absolutely.
That just blows me out. And I did quite a lot of work with Support Act as well over here. I'm a very big supporter. So I say good on you for doing what you do.
Great cause, isn't it?
Yep.
Roger was there. They don't just play for free for us every now and again to entertain our members and guests, but they play around town a bit too.
They do, yeah, quite a bit. I saw them. I've still got brothers and a sister in Adelaide, so I get there quite regularly. I went and saw them play one night. I just turned up and stood at the back, and then when they had a break, I went over and said, "Hey, Roger, how you doing?" He went, "What? What are you doing here?" So yeah, it was pretty funny. Oh. And his lovely wife Jenny.
Do you mind if we go back a tiny little bit before we go forward? Because
wherever you want to go, Cheryl Lee, that's your thing.
Well, now I know the Adelaide connection. I was just wondering, are your parents musical? Do you come from a musical family? Is it in your DNA?
It kind of was, because my parents were a bit older because I was born in 1952, right? Dad, before he went to the war, he was in the Second World War, and he was in Tobruk and then Kokoda. So he was a volunteer, like he actually volunteered for it. But when he came back, he was so traumatized that although before he left, he was an Eisteddfod grade piano player who was told, he went to St. Peter's College and he was told that he could have been a concert pianist. He came back from the war and he never played the piano. We had a piano at home. I never saw him play it. He had reams of music in the shed and old 78s. He was a classical music freak. And what he really was a conductor. So he had all of the music for the different parts of the orchestra. And in his latter years, he would sit and have a couple of whiskeys and put on classical music, and he'd be conducting and he'd be saying, "Here come the woodwinds and over here's the violins," and and he would do that. He also had perfect pitch. So when I started listening to music in the 60s, he couldn't listen to it because it would make the hairs on the back of his neck stand up, and he would just sort of go, "Oh, I can't listen to that stuff. It's all out of tune." Mum, on the other hand, was like a church singer. She would sing with gusto in church, and she and her sisters would sit around the piano at the farm because my mother's side of the family of farming types. And they'd sit around the piano and sing songs like, "Pack up your troubles in your old kit bag and smile." Do all those sort of songs and "Keep on the sunny side always." They'd sing all these songs. So I'd start singing with them. I sang in a couple of choirs when I was younger. So that sort of gave me a bit of an idea of sort of different parts of singing. So I did have my brother. I say in the book, my brother, who was 8 years older than me, was into music in the late 50s. So Lonnie Donegan, Johnny Cash, Buddy Holly, Elvis Presley, all of these seminal artists that sort of people in England quote as being the records that they listened to.
Yes.
So I was listening to the same things when I was 8 years old. So I had a beautiful intro into music, into popular music, and it just continued on,
If it wasn't already in your DNA, which it sounds like it was, you also got it by osmosis as well.
Absolutely, because popular music was the currency back then. It was all about what song have you heard, what band do you like, all of that kind of thing. And
Stones versus Beatles.
Absolutely. Well, I was more of a Stones guy until I really discovered the Beatles properly later.
Yeah.
I loved Ringo though.
You mentioned one brother. Any other siblings, and did any of them also go into the biz?
Yeah. My sister, who's 6 years older than me, she played a bit of violin, not particularly well, so that didn't last very long. But my brother, who's 4 years older than me, turned out to be quite a good classical guitar player. Yeah, he was actually really good, and he just didn't continue on. He did for a few years, but then sort of stopped playing. I do have a funny story that I talk about in the book about, because I'm left-handed, I would pick up their guitars upside down.
Yeah.
And I'd play them left-handed. And they'd keep saying to me, no, that's a right-handed guitar. You got to play it this way. And, a left-handed would swap the strings around. The big string would be at the top. I can see you've got guitars in the back. One day when he was out, I took the strings off his beautiful Spanish guitar and put them the other way around. And of course, not knowing how to do it, I think I was about 11 or 12, and tying them up at the end, like really destroying it. And he came back to me and he said, "I'll only tell you this once. Do that again and I'll kill you. Don't you touch my guitar." So I used to just look at them and I go, "So what chord is that?" And they say, "That's an E chord." I'd look at it and I go, "Yeah, okay, you got your finger there and there and there." And then I started playing piano when I was about 12. I took some lessons. They didn't last very long because as soon as I could go dunga 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 dunga, I thought I could play piano, so that was all I needed to know. But I did learn how to pick notes out of a chord on the piano and then find them on the guitar. That was the way that I learned how to play guitar, upside down, and I still play it upside down today.
Really?
Yeah, one of the records, like Sounds of Then, the Ganggajang song, there's 8 of my guitars on that, and they're all upside down. So I hit the top strings first, and I don't really hit the bottom strings that much because they're down the bottom, and they sort of work with my hi-hat. So the little strings of the guitar go with the hi-hat, and that's what makes that rhythm in Sounds of Then.
And a very distinctive sound.
Yeah, absolutely.
There you go.
Slightly out of tune.
Sorry for not knowing this. Do you have any children? And if so, have they followed you into music?
Yeah, look, I've got one boy who's 35 now. He is a producer. He's, very successful. He's done all sorts of stuff in America. He lived in America for a while, lived in London for a while. In fact, he's going back to Japan in about 2 weeks, and then he's going over to London again. His handle is Maxwell, which is MXXWLL, all in capitals. He is really successful, and I love watching his, progress. It's beautiful.
A chip off the old block.
A chip off the old block, yeah. And it's great, because he does play drums, and he's a really good drummer, and he's a great guitar player, he's a good bass player, and he's a good keyboard player. He's like all round, but he makes electronic music. He makes house music.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, go figure.
Each to their own.
Yep.
He's a multi-instrumentalist as well, as are you. So you do drums, keys and guitar. Do you have a favourite?
Well, I think, I love playing drums because that's what I started playing, right? So I just love playing drums. But as far as I think being able, it's very hard to sit down and just say, hey, have a listen to this song and sit down at the drums and play that.
Yes.
So, I needed to be able to play some guitar, and I do like playing the piano. And I think had I been had a bit more forethought when I was 12, I would have actually studied the piano a lot more, because it took me another 20 years really to get to the point when I was about 30, when I really said to myself, I need to know more about music. I need to know about how it's put together. I need to know, because I started producing records and I'd be working with people who are really good players, right? I felt like a bit of a goose, because what chord is that you're playing? Have you ever tried playing a G major seventh? And they go, we are playing a G. Yeah. Like, oh, really? Okay, cool. So, I needed to learn more about how it was put together. And I did that really by osmosis. I did that by watching other people play, asking dumb questions, and just, trial and error, really. Yeah.
I mean, apart from the obvious musical talent, you're a multi-instrumentalist, as I mentioned, songwriter. You've also been a music producer, a session player for everybody. Who's everybody? Everybody wants to play with you, don't they?
Yeah, I was lucky. You see, I was around at a time when they didn't have drum machines. In fact, I bought the first DMX drum machine in Australia at a time when they needed drummers. And I was just lucky. I could play in time, and I could start at one tempo and I'd finish at the same tempo. So I got lots of gigs. You've
also done film music composing as well, which I didn't know about, and talent management. You're a one-stop shop.
I've got a big hat rack.
Yeah, lots of hats.
There's a massive hat rack.
Apart from being a founding member, in most cases, of 3 of the bands that absolutely shaped the soundtrack to our lives here in Australia, the Angels, the Party Boys and Ganggajang.
A nice little trio. Yeah, and very, very privileged and thankful that I was part of all of that. I wasn't the original drummer of the Angels, as people would know. There was a guy called Charlie King that played on Am I Ever Going to See Your Face Again? Yeah. But I joined the band 12 weeks after that record came out. So I think I played on the first 4 albums. So I think I can definitely say that I was one of the early founding members.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But there's so much to talk about. You did mechanical engineering here at the Uni of Technology in the 70s, and then you went to Europe.
Look, I went over there with, I guess, open eyes, and I just thought, well, I'm just going to see what's happening over there. And I had a few friends who were over there as well. They'd made the trip. So I looked around at as many bands as I could see, and I saw the Sex Pistols play at the Marquee Club. I saw the Stranglers. I saw Ian Jury's first band. I saw all of these different bands. Lena Lovitch had a band called Diversions. So, I saw all of these bands, and I saw big artists as well, Neil Young and Queen. And I saw Queen in a 3,000-seater, which was pretty wild. I saw, Little Feat and all sorts of bands. And I just sort of was looking around and enjoying what was going on. But I didn't really have a lot of money. And as it was in those days, people would say, oh, you can just get a job, So I got a job in a bedding warehouse just near Waterloo. And it meant that I had to go there every day, which was a bit of a drag because what do? I got to go there every day. Come on. So we worked out this. The boss of the place he really liked Australians for some reason, probably because we did the work, right? We devised a thing between three of us that we would share that job. Way back in the 70s, we
were ahead of your time.
Ahead of our time, shared position. So, I'd work for a week and then I'd take a week off or somebody else did, and then another person would come in. So we do this rotation kind of thing. Just when I was thinking to myself, well, I've either got to buy a drum kit, because the first thing I bought when I got to England, I bought a guitar, an acoustic guitar, which I still have. It's right here somewhere. An acoustic guitar, a 4-track tape recorder, 4 microphones, and that was it. And I was thinking to myself, now, if I want to be a drummer, damn, I'm going to have to buy a drum kit, but then I'm going to have a car to move it around in. So I was trying to work out, what am I going to do? And this band turned up in London called AC/DC. I'd known Bon from Adelaide, like he lived in Adelaide for a while, and I knew him. Yeah. Not that well, but well enough that at the end of the show at the Red Cow, their first gig in London, I was able to walk up to him, and much to the surprise of the people that were there with me, I just said, hey, Bon, how you doing, man? And he said, hey, yeah, good. What are you up to? And I said, oh, look, I'm just hanging around here. Do you want to have a sesh? Yeah, cool. So we went back to our place and, smoked a bit of pot and drank a bit of whiskey, had a few laughs. He said, so what are you doing? And I said, I don't know. I'm out of money. I'm working at a bedding warehouse. He said, what, you're not playing? And I said, no, I don't know what to do. And he said, well, you could do worse than go back to Australia, start a band and tour around Australia for a while. He said, because there's gigs everywhere. We're playing 5 nights a week over there. And he said, that's what we have to do. AC/DC will have to leave London, go back to Australia, do a tour, make some money and come back again. So I thought, well, I was been away for a while, and I thought, look, I'll just go back home and say hello to everyone. I knew how to make a bit of money quickly, which was my uncle had a lawn mowing business that he was always happy to get me to go, and it was good. It was cash money, right? I went home and I started doing that. And after I'd been home about, 3 months, I suppose, Robbie Robertson, who now runs the Theberton Town Hall, he was my agent, like way back, in the bands I was in. And he rang me up and he said, there's this band from Sydney signed to Albert's, being produced by Vander and Young, and they're looking for a drummer. And I went, wow, that's cool. I said, who are they? He said, well, just come in. I'll introduce you. And oh, really? Okay. And I walked into his office and there was John and Rick and Doc, who I knew as the Keystone Angels.
Yeah.
Who used to be the Moonshine Jug and String Band. I don't know if you remember this, but you're probably not old enough, but the Moonshine Jug and String Band were really good. Like, they were a great band. And I used to go and see them, as many people did. Then they decided they wanted to be a rock band, so they became the Keystone Angels. And I've got to say, they weren't very good. I don't know if anyone saw them, but they weren't very good because they were a jug band playing like 1930s jug music, and all of a sudden they were playing 50s rock and roll, which revolved around groove. It was all about drums, bass, like it had to have groove. No offense to Charlie King, lovely man, but he didn't have that groove.
He wasn't groovy.
He wasn't groovy. Doc loved him to death, was not a bass player. Right? So they didn't have a rhythm section that worked. So they were a bit of a joke, to be honest. So anyway, I walk into the office and I go, oh, you guys, what are you doing here? Oh, yeah, we're the band looking for a drummer. And my friend Robbie said, look, you should just go and have a jam with them. Just go and have a jam, Carl, what's it going to, just go and have a jam with them. So I go and have a jam with them, and they're really nice. I got on with them really well, and I had nothing holding me to Adelaide. So they said, look, why don't you just join for 6 months. If you don't like it, you can leave. That's fine. We won't hold you to it. So I thought, okay, I'll go to Sydney, and if I don't like it, I can either join another band or I can go back. I had enough money saved up. I could go back to England, or I could go to New York because I desperately wanted to go to CBGB's. I desperately wanted to go and see punk bands and people like the Talking Heads and all that stuff. Right before we left Adelaide to drive to Melbourne to Sydney, we had a little meeting. They used to like the John, Paul, George and Ringo thing, which was John, Rick, Doc and Charlie, and it sounded kind of cool. But when they said Doc, Rick, John and Graham, They
Graham.
call me Graham, Graham. And I said, yeah, well, like Graham Nash or Graham Gouldman, there's been some famous Grahams around, I said, but what about John, Rick, Doc and Buzz? And they went, who the hell is Buzz? I said, Buzz Throckman. That's who I am. You can call me Buzz Throckman, and you can say that Buzz Throckman has joined the Angels. I had to explain to them that Buzz Throckman was a mythical character that was created in a stoned rave in Copenhagen in 1976, actually 1975. Buzz Throckman was this mythical character who was actually a Caterpillar tractor driver with the cat hat and stuff. When I told them that, they said, oh, that's really funny. That's cool. That's really cool. But what they didn't know is that I'd gone round to Chris Bailey's place, because Chris Bailey, bass player, was my friend before I joined the Angel, before I left to go. And he said to me, you won't last a moment in that band. And he said, if you come back to Adelaide after leaving that band, people will think you're a band hopper. They'll think that you don't commit. He said, your name will be Mud. I said, well, my name, I haven't got a name anyway, so it doesn't matter. Who gives a shit? It doesn't matter. I joined the band. Buzz Throckman joined the band. After we recorded the first lot of demos with Doc playing bass and me playing drums, I had a heart-to-heart with Doc. I was living at his house, and I said, mate, I've got to tell you, the bass playing, the drumming, it's not working, but I said, you studied drama, you're an actor. Have you ever thought about being out the front? And he said, but who'd play the bass? I said, I know who I can get to play the bass.
Chris Bailey.
Because I'd already spoken to him about it. So then we had a meeting with John and Rick and Doc, and the four of us are sitting there looking at each other. And John says, well, if we're going to get a bass player, I should be the lead singer because I've got a better voice. And I said, yeah. And John admits to this, you might have a better technical voice, but I said, you don't look like that guy. This guy's 6'4". He's handsome as hell. He's got a beautiful voice.
And stage presence.
So for frontmen, and he said, so who would we get for bass? And I said, Chris Bailey. He said, Chris Bailey's never going to leave Adelaide to join us. And I said, I think he will, because I've already spoken to him about it.
Yeah.
So, I got Chris into the band, and I must say it was probably the best decision they ever made to do that. To put Doc out the front and to get a bass player, because not only did we have an amazing rhythm section then, we had a guy out the front that was second to none.
Absolutely. I think you said that he is the best frontman you've ever worked with.
I think so, because of what he bought, and the second best was Shirley Strawn, who I loved, and Jimmy Barnes is a great frontman that I've worked with. But Doc just had this special thing,
the X factor,
an X factor.
Yeah, that charisma, you just couldn't take your eyes off him on the stage.
That's it, yeah. And that's what you want in a front man.
Exactly. I will top and tail this with a lot of this information that I have about your history, probably getting close to using up my time limit. Was there anything in particular out of all my pages that you would like to touch on during our interview, Buzz? Yeah.
Look, I guess one of the things that I point out in the book is that I'm so proud of all of the music work I've done. I mean, I'm very proud of it. But the thing that I'm most proud about is the work I've done with the Jimmy Little Foundation and Uncle Jimmy Thumbs Up, because it's something that came out of left field for me. I never would have thought that I would end up doing that work. And it's been 25 years I've been involved in that. And I think that the work that I've done there with others to promote healthy eating with Indigenous kids in remote communities is probably, as I tell people, that's what I get up in the morning for. I get up in the morning, I go, okay, what can I do now for Thumbs Up? The music stuff is great. I love making music. I still make music, but what I do for that is heart stuff. That's,
so important. I take my hat off to you, because it's easy just to sit back on your laurels on a fabulous career behind you, but to be giving something back, so important, is credit to you.
Yeah, and the other thing is that I use music to engage kids. So I'm writing songs all the time. Like every time I'm out in the community, I'm writing songs. And I love it, recording songs. I've just been up in Uluru. I've been recording the local Mutijulu band. I recorded 15 songs with them, and I work with the school kids there, the kids in the college. We're working on the 40th handback of Uluru. So there's a big thing in October for that. I'm always making music, which is in my DNA, and sometimes I use it to promote healthy eating, and sometimes I use it to promote bands, or who knows.
Keep you off the streets.
Oh, it does, Cheryl. Bloody keeps me off the streets for sure.
And something else I guess you're really proud of is your mentoring the young emerging artists as APRA ambassador.
Yeah, look, I've been doing that for many, many years, and I was also the vice chair of the Association of Artist Managers for a long time, for 10 years or so. That was another kind of way that I get to engage with younger musicians all the time. I think that's something, I'm 73 now, so it's really cool just to be working with younger musicians and just sort of get an opportunity to pass on some information, and that's both in the APRA stuff and the Association of Artist Managers. And now I assess grants for touring grants for Music New South Wales. So it's like I'm constantly listening to new music and I'm constantly engaging with young musicians, which keeps me young.
Well, I have this theory, Buzz, that rock and roll is the fountain of youth.
I think so.
It absolutely keeps you young.
Yeah, it does. And that's the other great thing about music. Hey, and I find also with my work in communities, it's intergenerational and it's intergender. So you can have bands made up of old people, young people, boys, girls, it doesn't matter. And that's the beauty of music. It's this overall engagement of different people and different genders.
Absolutely. This book is an absolute master. You co-wrote the song that is the title of the book,
Yes.
No Secrets, with Doc.
Yes.
Get onto the Google. I'm going to track your copy down. If you can, get along to the book launch and say g'day.
10th of September at 6 p.m. at the Adelaide Town Hall, and I'm really stoked that the Adelaide Town Hall came on board and offered me the banquet hall there, which is a beautiful hall, and it's next to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which is beautiful as well. There's so many great names on that, so I feel very, very blessed to have been given that opportunity to do my book launch there.
Oh, it is a beautiful spot. We went to a dinner there last month, a luncheon there last month, and had a little tour of the newly created, Hall of Fame. It's beautiful there.
Yeah, it is. When Angels Lane was dedicated a few weeks ago, I went and had a look at the Hall of Fame, and it is a wonderful exhibition. And yeah, good on them for doing that. Yeah, on your work too, for support act, I might say. That's really cool. I was a friend of Vinnie's and of Daisy's. I knew them very, very well. They used to compare Fiesta Villa when I'd play there back in the 60s. Goddamn, 60s and 70s. They'd be the compares. And we used to have so much fun. John Vincent, he'd pick up his guitar. Oh, God, did we have some laughs.
Daisy's wife, Annette, is still on the committee with us.
Do say hello to her for me,
Will
please.
do.
Yeah.
We have this fundraising lunch on the third Thursday of every month, 12 a year. So if ever you're in Adelaide, anywhere near the third Thursday, please come along and
I'd love to
join the committee table as our guest. We would love to have you.
I would love to be there.
All right, we'll put that in your diary.
Third Thursday.
Yeah, every month. You have worked with everybody, or everybody's worked with you, and I'm sure all of this is in the book. One that piqued my interest was Don Walker's The Suave, who's.
Suave. Yeah.
What did you do with The Suave?
Oh, well, I played on the first Catfish record, and I did the first tour with Don and Charlie Owen and Paul Burton and Dave Blight playing harp. And we did this tour, and it was the first time that Don had been on stage without a piano. He was the singer, and he'd stand up the front. And you got to remember, this is the first tour that he'd ever done where he was standing up the front, and he had this band behind him that was kind of half rockabilly and half punk. Great band with Dave on the harmonica and Charlie Owen's guitar, Paul with an upright bass. He was in the Milky Bar Kids, another Adelaide boy. We did this tour and Don went from being a very self-conscious, shy kind of, I don't know whether I should be doing this, I don't know what I'm doing, I don't know about this, to being very comfortable being the front man. And it was just wonderful to be part of that. Then I played on his second record. I did a couple of tracks on that. And then occasionally with his band, The Suave, every now and again, Hamish Cameron, can't make it or something. And Don will ring me up and say, hey, you want to come play some drums? And that's always fun. That's always just great to be on stage with him.
except for yourself, of course. He's my favourite Australian songwriter. He can just create so many pictures with so few words.
Yeah. He's an amazing songwriter. He's a funny chap. He's got a really good sense of humour. He's great to be on the road with. Yeah.
I bet. You've worked with Bowie, the King's, Cheap Trick, everybody in Australian music as well. I'm sure everybody needs to get the book and read all about it.
Well, I hope so. You can buy it at Woolies for $24. I reckon that's pretty good. That's a pretty good price, you know.
This is it, everybody.
Oh, well done, Cheryl. Yep, that's it. No secrets.
Yeah.
And I love the cover, and I love what, HarperCollins did a wonderful job with the photos. There's some good photos in there. There's me when I was 14 playing on In Time with Noel O'Connor at the Largs Pier Hotel. There's all sorts of great photos in there.
Thank you for writing the book. I just got my copy, so I haven't got onto it yet. But I'm going to be on a big, long plane ride.
That's a good book for that. And people who have read it say that it's not too hard to read. It's not too onerous. It's quite easy to read. So it has to be because I'm a drummer, I have to write it, left, right, left, right, left, right. Yeah. But, I hope you do enjoy it. People seem to be enjoying it. So that's great. I really appreciate you doing the interview with me.
All the best with it. I know it's going to be a great success. And I look forward to seeing you down the front somewhere.
Yeah, maybe at Avoca Beach. And do you go to Newcastle? Did I read that you go to Newcastle?
Geelong?
You go to Geelong, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, I have got some lovely friends in Geelong, so thank you, Cheryl.
All right. You enjoy the rest of your day.
All right.
I so appreciate you sitting with us this morning.
Thank you. See ya. Bye-bye.
You are listening to Still Rocking It, the podcast with Cheryl Lee.
What else are we going to go out with but the song that Graham wrote with Doc, No Secrets, and you can find details about the book. You can get it from HarperCollins, you can get it from Woolworths, and details about the book launches across Australia on the Graham Bidstrup Treehouse Music Facebook page.
She keeps no secrets from you. She keeps no secrets from you.
You're with Cheryl Lee, that radio chick. Thank you so much for joining me on the Still Rocking It podcast. Hope to catch you again next time. Get out when you can, support Aussie music, and I'll see you down the front.